give us a quick recap of the type of activity that we saw in the market last week and what are the key investment themes that drove the sentiment?
Yeah. Good morning, Samantha. Last week we saw that the market closed about flat. On Friday it was up 0.26%, and we saw that activities were mainly driven by activities in the banking sector. We saw First Bank, Access Bank, UBA, Fidelity Bank driving activities in the market on Friday. Value declined 34% last week on Friday, and volume increased 32%. We saw that investors were coming into the market at a cautious level, and we still expect that the sentiment will continue in the market.
As you say, First Bank really a standout in terms of banking stocks that rallied last week. I know that Stanbic IBTC has a buy conviction on First Bank. You're seeing some 90% upside potential in that stock price. Do you expect the upward momentum to continue this week?
Well, we saw that in the market last week. Stocks like Access Bank, First Bank gained full 5% during the course of the week, and there were a lot of interest in the stocks. And we saw that they were basically driven by the sentiment by investors that corporate actions were coming from this stocks. A stock like First Bank, there were rumors in the market that they were probably doing ₦1 dividend, and some people said about 40 kobo dividend. So that it's on the basis of this corporate actions that are coming that investors are actually buying into the stock. And we see a lot of long-term investors looking at the stock as they're comfortable with the present valuation on the stock.
Having a conversation with the head of research, Rayleigh Adesina, the other day, she was saying that it seems that foreigners are really waiting for a lot of reforms to take place until they buy into stocks again in 2012. What is your view in the type of activity that we're seeing from foreign institutional investors at the moment?
Well, at the moment, from foreign investors, we see most of the activities in the market from foreign investors. Over 70% of the activities in the market are really done by foreign investors. And we see many of them in the market at the moment, but they are not aggressive. They're actually cautious. They buy at a cautious level, and they don't want to be the only ones in the market. So they try to trail the market, do a percentage of the market, and that way they're not the one driving up price, and they try to accumulate volumes as much as possible at good levels.
Talking about concerns and possible risk factors right now which could weigh on market sentiment, we saw the attack of the ENI pipeline yesterday in the Niger Delta. It seems that there's a sense of rising militancy in the Delta right now. We've also had news reports of an attack at a police station in Kanu this morning. Are you concerned that this rising threat of terrorism and security issues is going to keep investors on the sidelines with regards to market activity?
The truth is, generally, in terms of security issues, we've had a bit of threat from that aspect. And initially, when the market opened the year, we had a lot of Boko Haram attack. And initially, we saw that some investors were cautious, but later we saw that investors, as long as those things are not at the moment impacting the financial sector, and at the moment are not in states like Lagos State, most investors are still comfortable, and we still see some of them most of them in the market.
Titi, so not really having much of an impact on the market. That's been something that's being reiterated, that terrorism doesn't really appear to have much market impact, and that's a historical fact. Then let's focus in on sectors and buying into sectors right now. We know banking stocks are undervalued and food and beverages are overvalued. If you look at earnings per share growth for 2011, what is your view in terms of taking position with regards to these two sectors?
At the moment, we see a lot of interest, especially in the top tier bank, the First Bank, the GTB, the Zenith Bank. We see a lot of investors willing to come in at the current levels, and we see a lot of cautious buying in the market at those levels that the stocks are trading, and we see that there are a lot of interest in those stocks. And in terms of the consumer space, we see interest in USCN and stocks like Dangote Cement. We see that a lot of investors are still looking at these stocks, and they still see value at the current levels.
Titi, do you think there's going to be a lot of excitement around Dangote Cement's stock in the next few days? We know that a Bese plant is meant to come online on Thursday. Do you think there's going to be some positive movement in that stock price over the next 2 days?
Yeah, we think there's going to be a lot of positivity around anglicism in the next few days. And like we've seen, even last week, we saw activities in the stock, and we still expect the investors' interest in the stock.